everyone, welcome back to my channel. So in the previous video we stopped till two sources we have studied, which are the two that are literary sources and archaeological sources. These are the two types of sources which historians use to write the history. So in this video let's learn briefly about these two sources. So now coming to literary sources. Historically speaking, literature means the written or orally conveyed information. So this literary sources, the historically speaking about the history, and this literary means written or orally conveyed information. We will write and convey the information, or we will speak and convey the information. There are two kinds in this. So in this literary sources we have two kinds. One is written literature and the other one is oral literature. So these are the two types of literary sources. And this written literature can be further classified into two, that is native and foreign literature. So the literary sources is divided into written literature, oral literature, and this written literature is further classified into two, that is native literature and foreign literature. Oral literature comprises of folk songs, stories, ballads, myths and legends. So in oral literature we will come to know about the history through songs, stories, ballads, myths and legends. So written literature is constructed by literates, but oral literature is created by illiterates. Okay, so this written literature is constructed by literates and the oral literature is created by illiterates, means they will speak and convey the information about the history. So this is all about literary sources. Next, moving on to archaeological sources. So the physical remains or ruins of the things used or constructed structures in the past are archaeological sources. So these archaeological sources are the physical remains or ruins of the things. So these archaeological sources are the remains used by the people in ancient times, or the structures, temples, buildings constructed by them in ancient times. Those all sources are considered as archaeological sources. So the remains that have been buried in the earth are removed through excavation. So the remains which are buried inside the earth are removed through the process known as excavation. The historical evidences include ruins, inscriptions, monuments, pieces of pots and other artifacts. These are all the archaeological sources. So now, what is excavation? The scientific process involved in digging the earth to obtain the ancient remains or fossils of our ancient people is called excavation. So this excavation is a scientific process to dig the earth and obtain the ancient remains or fossils which are buried inside the earth by our ancestors. Brush, trowel, knife and wood needles are used to move the layers of the earth. So these are all used to move the layers of the earth. The pieces of pot, coins, beads, crystals and bones thus obtained are subjected into scientific research. So these all pieces of pots, coins, beads, crystals and bones are thus obtained. When they are obtained, they are subjected to scientific research. So now moving on, in this page you have some information about sources of history. So I can't show you fully in this mobile. So let me tell you, the sources of history are divided into two. One is literary sources and the another one is archaeological sources. And literary sources are then further classified into written literature and oral literature. And this written literature is further classified into foreign literature and native literature. And this oral literature, for examples of oral literature are Lavanies, folk tales, and historic legendary. So this is all about literary sources, and in archaeological sources we have monuments, coins, inscription and other archaeological remains. So this diagram helps you to remember the sources of history and their classifications. So now moving on, India as introduced by Europeans. India as introduced by Europeans. So Indians had the knowledge of history in the form of Puranas and myths from ancient times. So we Indians had the knowledge of the history in the form of Puranas and the myths from the ancient times. But this was the European model of constructing history. But this knowledge, what it had for learning history, this was completely different from European model of constructing history. Among the Europeans who arrived in India in 16th century was Jesuit priests. Okay, Jesuit. Okay, Jesuit priests. Europeans who arrived in India in 16th century are Jesuit priests. They undertook a systematic study. They undertook a systematic study to understand the lifestyle of Indians, and they took a systematic study to understand the lifestyle of Indians. Heinrich Roth, who was settled in Agra, translated Sanskrit grammar into Latin language about 350 years ago. So this Heinrich Roth, what he did, he was settled in Agra and he translated the Sanskrit grammar into Latin language about 350 years ago. A century later, Father Cordaux, okay, a century later, okay, century means 100 years. 100 years later, Father Cordaux added that there are many similarities between Sanskrit and European languages. So this Father Cordaux identified that there are many similarities between Sanskrit and European languages. Meanwhile, the British got the revenue rights in Bengal. So at this time, British got the revenue rights in Bengal. The British officers tried to understand the history, traditions, customs, values, beliefs and laws of Indians to strengthen their trade relationship. So these British, what they did, they tried to understand the history of we Indians, our traditions, our customs, the values and the beliefs of Indians, the laws of Indians to strengthen their trade relationship. Some administrators were attracted towards Indian literature and culture, and some of the administrators, they were attracted towards Indian literature and culture, as Manusmriti, Bhagavad Gita and other great literary works were translated into English. So as these administrators got interest, they attracted towards the Indian literature and culture. They translated Manusmriti, Bhagavad Gita and other great literary works into English. So in the picture you can see this is Max Muller, this is William Jones. Okay, so now moving on to study about Sir William Jones. Sir William Jones. So this Sir William Jones contributed immensely to the study of Indology. So he contributed a lot to the study of Indology. Study of Indology. Indology refers to the study of India, studying about India. And he came to India as a judge of the Supreme Court in Bengal Asiatic Society in 1784 CE at Calcutta, present Kolkata. So this Sir William Jones, he came to India of Supreme Court, which was in Bengal, and he established the Asiatic Society, when in 1784 CE at Calcutta, present known as Kolkata. Sir William Jones, who was a multi expert, translated the great works like Gita Govinda, Manava Gita Govinda, Manava Dharma Shastra, and Dasa's Shakuntala from Sanskrit to English. So this Sir Jones, he knew Sanskrit and English as well. He knew both these languages. So he translated great works like Gita Govinda, Manava Dharma Shastra, and Kalidasa's Shakuntala from Sanskrit to English. Another prominent Orientalist and Indologist was Max Muller. So another prominent Orientalist and Indologist was Max Muller. He was a great German scholar. This Max Muller was a great German scholar who wrote an English work, Sacred Book of the East. And this Max Muller wrote a English work known as Sacred Book of the East in 50 volumes. 50 volumes. Okay. James Mill, a historian from Scotland, wrote History of India in 6 volumes. But these scholars never visited India. So James Mill, he was a historian from Scotland, and he wrote a book known as History of India in 6 volumes. But they never visited India. These scholars never visited India. Now, let's learn about Abbe Dubois. Okay, Abbe Dubois. So this Abbe Dubois, a French missionary, arrived and settled at Ganjam near Srirangapatna. So this Abbe Dubois, he was a French missionary and he arrived and settled at Ganjam near Srirangapatna. He lived as a sage by adopting the local culture and customs. This Abbe Dubois, he lived as a sage by adopting the culture and customs, local culture and customs. And he was called Dodda Swami by the local people. This Abbe Dubois was called as the Dodda Swami by the local people. He wrote Hindu manners, customs and ceremonies. So this Abbe Dubois wrote Hindu manners, customs and ceremonies. And this Abbe Dubois, he presented Indian customs, values, thoughts, festivals, and Varna Sharma system in his work. And this Abbe Dubois, what he did, he presented Indian customs, Indian values, the thoughts of Indians, festivals celebrated we Indians, and the Varna Sharma system in his work. This Abbe Dubois lived here for 24 years. He lived in India for 24 years and returned to France. Apart from these, Elphinstone, Coles, Brooke, and next is Cunningham, Eliot, and Dawson have introduced the stages of Indian history. So these all historians have introduced the different stages of Indian history. Okay. So next is Francis Buchanan. Okay, Francis Buchanan, Colonel Wilkes, and Mackenzie, B.L. Rice, Fleet, and other European scholars have successfully recorded and preserved inscriptions, manuscripts, and chronicles, testimonies, and contemporary events for the reconstruction of Karnataka history. So these all scholars have successfully recorded the inscriptions, manuscripts, and chronicles, testimonies, and contemporary events for the reconstruction of Karnataka history. They all helped in the reconstruction of Karnataka history. Thus, Europeans have been successful in introducing a novel way of understanding and constructing history to the Indians. So, in this way, Europeans have successfully introduced a novel way of understanding and constructing history to the Indians. And in this way, they have provided Indians a new process of thinking and a new perspective to construct history. And they gave us a new process of thinking and a new perspective of constructing history. Here we have new words which we should know. So, Jesuit, okay, Jesuit. Jesuit means in 1534, Ignatius established the Society of Jesus in Paris. This is a male religious congregation of Catholic Church. The members of the Society of Jesus are known as Jesuits. So this guy he established the Society of Jesus in Paris, and this was a male congregation of the Catholic Church. Okay, so the members of this Society of Jesus are known as Jesuits. Okay, so next is missionary. Who are known as missionary? The religious preachers who are sent from a foreign country to spread religion. So this missionary are the religious preachers who are sent by a foreign country to spread Christian religion. And Indology. This Indology means a branch of knowledge or science which studies the culture and history of India. This Indology is the branch of science which studies the culture and history of India. Next, Orientalist. Who is this Orientalist? The European scholars who are interested in the history, culture and spirituality of the Eastern countries. So, these Orientalists are the European scholars who are interested in the history, culture and spirituality of the Eastern countries. So, these are the new words which you should remember. And the next is note. What does we mean by CE? So in this lesson you have came across many words like this. So now let's learn the full form of these words. So CE means common era. CE means common era, and BCE means before common era. BCE before common era, CE common era, and BCE used in the place of AD and BC. So this BCE and CE are used in the place of AD and BC. These abbreviations are being used in the social science textbooks, and the abbreviations like this are being used in social science textbooks. So this is all about the lesson Introduction to History. In the next video we shall learn the or we shall study the exercise questions of this chapter. So I hope you understood the chapter. If you like this video, please like, share and subscribe to my channel. Thank you.